Hello and welcome to the Kick in the Creatives podcast, hosted by myself, Sandra Busby, and my fellow creative Tara Roskell, offering you interviews, inspiration, motivation, and a gentle prod in the right direction. And for lots more information, challenges, and other useful tools to help you get creating, you can go to www.kickinthecreatives.com. And of course, this is where you can also find today's show notes. Enjoy the show. Welcome to today's episode, and today we're going to talk about drawing and sketching people. But before we get onto that, we want to say a huge thank you to our latest Ko-fi supporters, and they are Alison Cochrane, Peter H., Michael Beckett, Maureen Ballard, and Marcia Thurman. We always really do appreciate the support, because not only does it help us towards the costs of running Kick in the Creatives, which helps us to keep doing what we do, but it also shows that you like what we do. So thank you very much. And we also want to thank everyone who's been sharing their work with us on social media. So many people have been taking part in the Quick Kicks January challenge, which is to take an abstract photo every day. And I cannot possibly pick one person out because they've all been really good. And I love it when somebody takes a really close-up photo of something and then I like to guess what it is. Do you do that?
Yeah, and I ask them what it is. But you also send me weird photos, which you won't mention now, and close-ups.
Yeah, let's not go into that.
Okay.
Erica Clero, she's been doing the Art Journal January challenge, and I just love how she lays out her pages. And I'm also really envious of her handwriting, which is kind of like an art form in itself. Whenever I add text to my sketchbook, it kind of looks like chicken scrawl and ruins everything, but hers is just beautiful. Have you seen it?
Oh, I missed the name.
You are on top form today, Tara. Erica Clero.
No, I didn't. I haven't seen those.
And
I have had a traumatic morning, remember?
Oh, yes. Yes, you have.
Sorry, cleaning up dog poo this morning, sorry.
Oh, I think that's overshare.
Yeah, maybe that is overshare. Should we delete that bit? Should we start again with all this bit?
I'll sort it out in the edit. Sanasira has also been creating some really fun pages for Art Journal January, as has Catherine C. Slater. And the thing I really love about Art Journal January is that we get a peek into the lives of people who are taking part, and I love that. Maybe because I'm just a really nosy person.
Well, actually, Sanasira, I really love her pages as well.
Yeah.
But because they're not in English, I always wonder what she's writing.
Oh, yeah, we should translate.
Yeah, and it
might
could
be really rude.
It could be something really rude about us too. Let's hope not.
I'm sure not.
No.
And another one, Eva Falk Wall Simpson. She's been doing the Aqua January challenge, and I really love her sketching style as well. Anyway, what about you, Tara? What's caught your eye?
Well, you nick one of mine. You nick Sanasira. But I really like Art by Jackie P, her illustrations she's been doing, especially her witch in ink. I don't know if you saw that one.
Yes. Yes,
Fabulous.
I did, yeah.
And Imaginings by Karen. She's been doing some lovely abstract photos. You were talking about those before, weren't you? So love those too. Yeah. And anyway, what is new with you, as if I didn't know already?
Well, if anyone slightly detects a sexy huskiness to my voice, it's because I had COVID. I shouldn't laugh. No. But basically, that's what I got for Christmas. Myself and Paul, my husband, tested positive on... we had a test on New Year's Eve, and it came back positive on New Year's Day. So that was a good start.
Yeah. Happy New Year.
Yeah, and unfortunately, both my kids got it as well. That was all without breaking any rules, by the way. We didn't break any rules at all. Luckily, we're all fine now. But I wanted to mention it mainly because everyone is looking out for a continuous cough, aren't they?
Yeah.
Because that's what everyone's told about. But not one of us had that at all. What we just thought we had was a common cold. And it was only because a couple of days later I just lost my sense of taste and smell, as did my son's girlfriend. And on the same day, Paul got a temperature. We thought, oh, hang on a minute, maybe we should just get a test just in case. And of course, we all tested positive. So if you do get symptoms of a common cold, it's definitely worth getting a test, because clearly not everyone gets the usual symptoms that everyone talks about. And I just want to say, in this episode, if you hear me sniffing and coughing, I'm going to try really hard to edit them all out. I don't want to be sniffing and coughing in your ears, but I'm just telling you why I sound like I do at the minute.
We'll make a change not to be me, won't it?
I know. Yeah, you're hay fever, aren't you, all year round? I've got basically nothing else to share because obviously I haven't been well. So I'm letting myself off the hook for not having any arty news. So I'm going to ask you, what's new with you?
Oh dear, I haven't got a lie either.
Oh, no.
No, to be honest, after doodling loads through December, I was doing tons, and I was doing a few pages a night of doodles, like characters, all intuitive. Yeah. And just before Christmas, I stopped doing those. I guess, like unwinding, basically. Yeah. And I haven't drawn since. I literally have not picked up a pencil or a pen or anything. But I have been really geeking over lighting and cameras and webcam.
Yeah, because you've been busy trying to edit a course, haven't you, as well? So that's...
Yeah, I've been doing loads of editing, but I've also been totally geeking over YouTube videos on like photographic and video lighting and stuff like that, which I guess is sort of creative, isn't it?
Of course, and we should point out as well that although this is the second episode that's aired this year, I mean, we're recording this, aren't we, on the 13th of January. So I suppose really we have had our Christmas break. So you do have to sometimes just take that time to wind down a bit. I mean, unfortunately, I just spent mine not very well. But even if I was well, I probably would have stepped back from even the art room, because sometimes you just have to allow yourself to recharge a bit, don't you?
Well, that's what I decided, not to, kick myself for not doing anything. It doesn't matter. You're allowed to take a break, aren't you? Although I do see people in our group being totally prolific, and I think, oh my God, I haven't done anything. And actually also, and I think this is a topic we should cover in the future, is on social media. I actually feel guilty, like on Instagram, because I haven't posted anything for ages, which is ridiculous.
Oh, yeah, I know exactly what you mean by that.
So, yeah, I think that should be a future topic as well.
Okay. Anyway, so let's get on to today's topic, which is all about sketching and drawing people. And it's a subject I think a lot of people avoid, because the thing about drawing a person is that we all know what one looks like, don't we? So if you get it wrong, it's really, really obvious. But being able to draw people is a really important part of being an artist, I think, especially if you enjoy sketching outdoors, because people can add life to a place and they can also tell a story. And ideally, you want to be able to draw people from life as they're going about their daily business, which of course means capturing movement. But of course, that can be really overwhelming to start with. So the best way is to build up to that point slowly. Familiarise yourself with the proportions of the human body and how it moves. And I know, obviously, anatomy books are really useful. To be honest, observation is key, so don't panic if you don't really understand anatomy. There's no shame at all in practicing from photos. In fact, that's a really, really good way to start, because you can be confident that your subject isn't going to move. And you can find photos of people doing all sorts of things just by Googling or going on to Unsplash or Pixabay. But just avoid photographs where people are posing for the camera. You want to use photographs where people are just doing something ordinary and they're not appearing to be photographed, because this is what you're going to be eventually trying to capture once you get outdoors.
Another thing you do is take an online drawing class, like an online life drawing class. And this is something I mentioned that I did loads of in the summer. It actually kept me going, I think, through that first lockdown. Prior to the lockdown, I'd really wanted to go to a life drawing class, but there weren't many locally sort of near me. And the one that I could go to, it was really creepy to walk to.
Oh, really? I thought you meant the actual class was creepy.
I don't know about the class, but I know where it was. And obviously it would have been at night if I'd have gone in, the winter time or whatever. And it's like, it's so creepy to walk there, even from the car park, which is crazy. So, so I kept on avoiding that one. So I tried out quite a few different online life drawing classes. And if you don't know what one is, basically it is literally a live person, the other end, on a Zoom.
Not a dead person, a living, a live person.
Well, what I mean is, it's not a photograph. In general, they don't put up a photograph. It will be a person posing in their home, either clothed or unclothed, for you to draw. There are a few that I would definitely recommend, a few classes. These are all on Instagram. So the Jolly Sketcher, really good one that is. And you know the person that runs that, don't you?
I do.
Thamesmead Live Drawing, another really good one. And the Drawing Sesh. Now, the first two I mentioned, the Jolly Sketcher and Thamesmead Live Drawing, they have nude models that you can draw on Zoom. And they're really professional nude models as well. They haven't just dragged someone off the street like they used to do at college. And some of the classes, they do insist that you keep your own webcam on. You don't have to be naked. But you can if you like, I'm sure. But it does mean...
That would be creepy.
But it does mean, obviously, that if you don't like being on camera, it's... I don't particularly like having the camera on when I'm drawing like that, to be honest, when I don't know the people. But some let you turn them off. But obviously they're doing that for the model's protection because they don't want people taking screenshots and that sort of thing. The last class I mentioned, the Drawing Sesh, that is a class which is geared more towards fashion drawing. So it's the two people that run it are the ones that pose, but they don't pose nude. They pose wearing different weird fashion outfits and stuff. And that's quite an interesting class. And what I also like about what they do is they set you drawing exercises. So they might say, okay, just draw all the outlines, or just draw blocks. Don't use any lines, or draw continuous line, that sort of thing. A couple more, just want to mention, one more, is Cabaret Couture. That's at Cabaret Couture on Instagram. And that's another fashion drawing class. And they are really top-notch photographers, and they have quite top-notch models. But they're dressed as well, and it's all about drawing the fashion there as well. The only thing I found tricky for them is I don't find their instructions very good on whether it's going to be a 5-minute or a 10-minute.
Oh, right.
But the actual setup is brilliant. Really good.
Yeah.
And I'll say that is, I'm guessing if you can't get to a live drawing class, that's a really good substitute. I mean, I really enjoyed it. The only problem, you obviously do get a bit of distortion with the camera.
Yeah.
And they generally cost between £5 and £10 for a couple of hours. But they do concessions. So if you're struggling, or, if you're on a low income, they quite often, sometimes they'll even do it free if you just drop them an email. So they're pretty good. Oh, one more thing. Croquet Cafe. I forgot. This isn't live drawing, but you know about these, don't you, Sandra?
Yeah, they're brilliant. And it's free.
Yes, Croquet Cafe. Now, they used to be on YouTube. And what they were recorded videos of someone posing naked. And you'd get maybe a 2-minute, and they'd have a little clock up with a person standing next to it. But they seem to have moved them now to Vimeo. So if you go to vimeo.com, Croquet Cafe, and that's spelled CROQUIS, Cafe, they're now on there. And I think YouTube have changed their rules, whether it's to do with the nudity, but now they're all over on Vimeo. And that's completely free, and just loads of models that you can draw over there.
Yeah, I mean, I'm with you. I think they're such a good idea, these online ones, especially during, obviously, the pandemic year at the moment, where you can't go out. And, it's brilliant. But obviously, as good as they are, it's a really different experience drawing from life compared to drawing from a screen. As you say, there are always going to be distortions, and you're not going to quite get the depth, the sense of depth you would get if you're in a room with someone. And a life drawing class, you would get the chance to practice quick poses and leading up to longer ones as well. And I must admit, I actually really like the idea of a life drawing class, but where the models are wearing clothes.
Yeah, I think it makes sense, yeah.
I know, because it's not like you're going to come across many people walking around naked in everyday life, is it?
You probably wouldn't be drawing them. You wouldn't draw them either, would you? Because you'd be getting the police.
No. Well, it depends.
Yeah.
But I think the point of it, I suppose, is that by drawing naked bodies, you get to understand how they move. So when it actually comes to drawing clothed people, you know what's going on underneath those clothes, which does actually help to make sense of things.
You don't want to know too much what's going on under those clothes.
No. But it does help. It helps to make sense of things when you're not quite understanding what you're looking at.
Yeah.
But I still think it would be good actually to have a life drawing class where people sit wearing clothes. Maybe if I was going to run a life drawing class, I think what I would do is, I'd have a nude model, but I would perhaps also get people to just, like maybe some of the artists just to sit in their clothes for people just to do the quick poses. I think that would be a good idea.
Yeah.
But anyway, I don't run a life drawing class, so I can't do that.
What you mentioned about the, having time drawings and they do that all on their life drawing classes as well.
Yeah,
the online ones, they tend to do it so, it gradually gets slower, which is, so you go from fast to slow, which is weird, really.
Yeah. Well, not everyone feels comfortable either when they go to a life drawing class. I don't know if I've spoken about this on the pod. I know I've spoken to you about it, Tara, but I don't know if I've mentioned it on the podcast when I went to one. The first one I ever went to, this was
the awful position.
Oh, well, yeah. Have I spoken about this before? The woman, basically, the model walked in, and it was in like in a town hall in the evening, and it was blooming cold. It really was. It wasn't like, they had a little oil heater. So how this woman sat there naked all that time, I do not know. I was cold, and I was obviously wearing clothes. But she brought in this great big mirror, really big mirror it was, with a great elaborate frame, and she basically laid this mirror on the floor, scattered it with flower heads, and then sat on it.
Oh, no.
Yeah, so I just thought I should not be looking at this naked woman, especially twice, upside down. And I was like, but then once I'd kind of relaxed a bit and got my head around it and realised that she clearly was not shy about it, then it made me feel a bit better and a bit more relaxed. And once you've been to one or two classes, that initial embarrassment it does go. And you just end up getting on with it, and it's just fun. But it is a bit strange at first, but that, it gets easier.
Now, I can tell that you've written this bit for me because I'm a complete prude. But it says, if you're not comfortable with the idea of a life drawing class, you could draw yourself in front of a mirror or from a selfie. That's not going to happen. I'm not getting my kit off. Although I say that, and I think I may have told you this in private before, but
you're now going to say it to millions of listeners.
Millions, yes. but years ago, I wanted to draw. I wanted to try drawing naked people. So I got Kevin. He posed for me. Like, I took a photo of him, basically, not posed, still. But I took a photo of him from the back, so it wasn't anything bad. So he was sort of sitting, and you couldn't see any of his naughty bits, but you could just see his bum, basically, in his back.
No fruit and vegetables.
No.
Then.
And then I think he took one of me fairly similarly, anyway, for me to draw. But then the bad thing was not about that. The bad thing was then that a year or so later, I gave the camera away. Yeah, to my mum and dad.
I remember. I know what you're going to say.
To my mum and dad. And I now cannot remember if I wiped it or not.
So you gave it to your mum and dad?
Yeah. And they've never mentioned, and I'm really hoping that I wiped those pictures. But
I remember this story.
What it's like with a digital camera when you don't hardly wipe the photos, do you? Unless you get it so it's full. Do you know what I mean? And Mum, if you're listening, don't mention it because I don't want to know. I really don't want to know.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Anyway, so if you do decide to take a selfie of yourself, remember to delete it before you hand the device to anybody else. Especially now with social media.
Yeah, definitely.
But I also saw on social media, there was a really funny drawing that someone had done. They'd actually accidentally taken a selfie of themselves, and it was just like a face and shoulders. It wasn't a naked one. But it looked fantastic because they'd got such a funny angle and such a funny face from this unexpected picture. It was absolutely brilliant.
I'm not sure I'd want to scrutinise myself to that level by staring at myself naked in the mirror.
No.
I'm not sure I'd want to do that either. I mean, self-portraits I've done, and that's bad enough.
I hate doing that.
You don't normally look at yourself that closely, do you?
No.
And then when you actually do, it's like, oh my God, what's this? Where's that come from?
Kevin was laughing at me the other day because I went up to our cooker And I was like squinting. And he goes, "Oh, you're looking yourself in the mirror." And I was just trying to make sure it was turned off before he went to bed. But he...
Well, I think it's a good idea to ask maybe your partner then, or your spouse, like you did, Kevin, to practice life drawing, rather than do yourself, or even a friend if they're willing. Tara,
I'm not.
Be willing?
No.
No? Oh,
no.
Shame. I must admit, I haven't actually asked Paul to pose naked for me. I think I'm sure he would. Well, I know he would.
Yeah.
No, I think he'd get too bored. I think he'd be like, "Oh, hurry up."
Yeah.
I've drawn him while he was asleep once, when he was wearing just his boxers, but that was years ago, absolutely years ago, and I don't even have that drawing anymore. And I've also drawn my sister-in-law, who was good enough to pose for me for 4 hours.
God.
I
4 hours.
She could hardly move by the time I'd finished. She did have a break, obviously, but it was really good because she gave the drawing to her partner for his birthday, so it worked for everyone. And she asked me to do it, so.
Was that a pencil sketch?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it was really good to have someone willing to sit for that long.
Oh, I couldn't draw someone I knew. It'd be wrong. Not like that. It'd be right, like Kevin sort of thing, but no.
It was good because we just had a cup of coffee and we're chatting, and it was nothing. I felt far more comfortable drawing someone I was friends with than somebody I didn't know, because we knew each other well enough that she knew that it wasn't awkward, and I knew it wasn't awkward. Whereas when it's a stranger, I felt more awkward.
Oh no, I'd rather study a stranger's bits, I think, than someone I know.
I just glaze over the bits. I don't sort of study those too hard.
I was just going to say that do you remember I was drawing Kevin for a while? And that was completely clothed. So clothed sketches are great too. And I was just doing like 1 or 2 sketches in a day, sitting in the garden or outside. But what I was doing was changing my medium a lot of the times, or changing the way I was drawing him. So I'd draw him in ink, and I'd draw him fairly realistically. And then another day I'd try and do more of a cartoon version. And then I'd swap to a brush pen and draw it really loose. And when he was moving and doing a bit of gardening. So that was really good. And I must have done that for a few weeks where I was mostly drawing in most days. But I look back at some of them now, and some are all right. And I actually I think I like the fast ones where he was doing things in the garden. Yeah. Because if you do manage to capture a movement or the essence of a movement, you can get a really lovely sketch. Whereas some of the ones where I'd laboured more and tried to get a more detailed drawing, they're a little bit stiff and not so exciting, I guess.
No, I'm the same. I prefer looking back at drawings that I've done really, really quickly than I do the ones I've kind of laboured over.
Yeah, it's strange, isn't it?
Well, once you've mastered drawing people who aren't moving, then you'll want to start practicing drawing people in action. Like you say, Kevin doing the gardening and things, that's a good place to start, because they're going to be, in the same position maybe for a little while.
And they repeat the same movement, don't they?
Yeah. And something like the TV is great. Something like a newsreader, a weatherman, that would be a good start, because you know that their movements are going to be limited. And maybe a TV chef, they'll be moving around a bit more. But then again, their movements will still be limited, and they will be repetitive as well. And the thing is about TV is you can always rewind as well, which is not a luxury we get in real life, but it's really handy when you're practicing. Another place might be a gym. That's a place where you will see people moving a lot, but they're constantly repeating those movements. So that would be great practice if you get an opportunity. Not so easy to do, obviously, without being noticed if you're inside the gym. But I don't know about your area, but some of the gyms near me, they've got cafes outside of the gym, but you can see through to where the members are working out. So that's quite a handy place to be.
Obviously not good at the moment, but when things get a little bit more back to normal.
Yeah, obviously some of this stuff at the moment won't be relevant at all, because nobody's allowed out, at least not where we are.
When you mentioned about the TV, I've tried drawing from the TV before, but I made the mistake of drawing from like a TV program. Kevin used to do you remember Killing Eve? Did you ever?
Oh yes, it was brilliant. Yeah.
I love some of that, and then it just got too much for me. It just got too gratuitous.
I like the first series was better than the
Yeah,
second.
I think it was the first I watched mostly, but I was trying to draw just some of the faces of the people. But you forget that when you watch a program like that, unlike a newsreader, when you watch that, they skip shots so often. So and when they come back, they're not in the same position. They'll skip to a side view or whatever. So definitely start with the newsreaders that you mentioned before.
Yeah.
One thing I did find recently, and I haven't actually tested it for drawing yet, but is a little website where you can loop YouTube videos. So say you go on YouTube, you might find a picture of someone cooking again, like you just said, or I don't know, someone playing the guitar. You can go to this site called youtubeloop.net. You put in the URL of your video on YouTube that you want, and then it's got these little triangles at the bottom of your video, and you can move it so you get your starting point, your ending point, and it will just keep on looping that section. So that's great if you want to, try and draw something like that.
That's a brilliant idea.
Yeah, I haven't tried it yet, but worth a go.
And once you've got your head around that little bit of movement, then you can start venturing outdoors, and the perfect place to start is a cafe. And you'll find people moving around a little bit, but again, not too much. And even if they do get up and walk away, someone else will inevitably take their place, and often even sit in a very similar position. And I've often drawn one person using several different people to make them up when they've moved away. And it can be really frustrating at times. Tara, do you remember when you and I can't remember, we were in London or Brighton, but we went into a cafe and I was trying to draw one particular person, and every time my pencil touched the paper, all of a sudden they'd put their hand over their face or put their sunglasses on or stick their face behind a menu, and it was just like, it wasn't even like they were aware that I was trying to draw them, but I guess that's all part of the fun, isn't it?
Yeah, and like you say, you could have just switched that to be a different person. And you do get better at it, don't you, the more you do of that? Because I think it was the last time we went to London, I could actually see improvements in my drawings. Now, we're back to square one again now.
Oh, 100%, I agree. I totally agree. I mean, when I used to go to begin with, I was very hesitant. And when I become really confident in my style of sketching in that I knew I was going to get down roughly what I wanted, I wasn't hesitant at all. It was like, right, okay, let's draw. And I wasn't worried what someone was doing, how long they were going to be there. I'd just pick my pencil up and go for it. And I'm pretty sure that when I go out next time, I'm going to be doing exactly what I used to do, which is hesitating and being nervous about it. And of course, then it shows in the drawing, doesn't it?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you want to be as inconspicuous as possible. So you could position yourself near a mirror, if there is one, or even if you get near a window, so you can see their reflection in the window, and then draw their reflection, and they're less likely to know what you're doing then.
But they're more likely to have a bus driving through their head.
Yes, that is true. But that could be quite interesting too as an image.
Yeah.
And one good thing I think about the pandemic, if you can find a good thing, is that maybe when things start to get a little bit more back to normal, that people won't want to get so close to you to look at what you're drawing. That is my hope. Anyway,
that's a good point. Yeah.
So we just have to wait and hope on that. But after you've practiced people who are just moving a little bit, you can move on to drawing the people around you in the street, at work, or find somewhere where there's a really variety of people moving. So like a beach maybe. It's like when we were in Brighton, we were drawing not only the people on the beach, we were drawing people in the cafes, and then when we sat in a cafe, there was someone like a singer and a band, so we were drawing that as well. So if you sit in that one place, you can get all those different things, and that's great because you can just literally turn around and draw lots.
Yeah, because we were sitting. It was almost like a double 4-poster bed, but it wasn't a bed, was it? It was like it was like on the beach, but if you face one way, you get the beach. If you face the other way, you get a band. And then face a little way around and you get the promenade, people walking along. And then you face the other and you've got the people sitting and drinking. So it was like everything in one. And we just kept going back to the same place, didn't we?
It was perfect, wasn't it? Places like that.
Yeah.
But don't pick people who are moving too fast unless you really know what you're doing, which we don't, that's for sure. Because we tried once to draw some ice skaters. Oh my God.
Oh, yeah, but that's before we'd had much practice as well.
It was, but the issue is if you're not that close to something as well. So we were like quite a way above. and then they're going around, and there are places where you can't see them because there might be a post in the middle as well. So you'd keep trying to draw a person, and as soon as you started drawing, they'd be around the other side, and then you try and switch it to a different person, and it is so difficult. I'm sure people who do it all the time are brilliant at it, but we weren't.
Oh, no. And I think maybe if you're going to do something like that, it probably would be easier if it was just gesture drawing rather than, practicing gestures rather than trying to get a person actually ice skating. Especially when you're just beginning anyway. I think actually that's a really good way to capture movement, is for that sort of swift, fluid line, that gesture line. And you can always use that as a guide then, but just don't try and make every line perfect. Just loosely sketch what you see and then go over it to correct if you need to, and don't use a rubber. The thing about using a rubber is that you're avoiding mistakes, but it's those mistakes that kind of add to that liveliness of the drawing. And if you go at it lightly first and then go in harder once you know where you're at, then you'll be left with a really energetic sketch and it won't look static. And the initial marks are really important to leave in anyway, because they'll give much more of a feeling of movement. Or better still, go straight in with a pen.
Yeah, I mean, you could also add some swishes of watercolour paint or ink first. I mean, like not full strength ink, and then work into that, because that almost gives you kind of that line of movement you were talking about before. And do expect your sketches to be bad first. But with practice, they will get better. Like I mentioned before, I could definitely see after we'd been a few times that my sketches were starting to improve. I think you did as well. You had a blip, didn't you? One time we went out.
Yeah, I feel like when we first started going out sketching, I was always somebody who used to sketch in my studio, really. So going out and sketching was kind of new to me, and I was drawing as though I was making a drawing rather than just sketching quickly. But once I got my head around that and decided, okay, this is not the way to work when you're out and about, you just got to get it down. Once I kind of get my head around that and I'd practiced a lot, that's when I got to that point where I was going out and I wasn't nervous about it, I wasn't worried about it. I was like, no, I'm just going to do it. And I think that confidence as well almost meant that everything I did I was quite happy with, because I wasn't bothered either way. It was just what it is. It's just a sketch. And so I wasn't worried about starting, which is often the hardest bit, isn't it? It's getting that pencil down. But I was just kind of going at it. But then I think we had a while where we couldn't go sketching for a bit. I think it's probably winter time or something like that. And it's surprising, isn't it, how when you don't do it for a while, you kind of get a bit rusty. And then when I went out, I felt like I'd gone completely backwards. It was really strange.
I suppose really it's because the drawings you'd been doing when you were back home would have all been more, tighter drawings, wouldn't they? More polished, more finished.
Yeah, and I think at that time as well, I was experimenting with various different styles, which probably might have been a mistake for me at the time with sketching, because I found the style I felt comfortable with.
Yeah.
And I should have just developed that. But instead I was trying so many other things that by the time I got back out there, I'd forgotten really what my style was. So I learnt that when I go out again, I'm going to do what feels natural, and I'm just going to keep doing that unless I get bored, of course.
And I think that drawing outside, if you're going to draw people outside, unless you are, you're really experienced at doing it, which we're not. So it's more about the experience. So for me, it's fun drawing because we're out there drawing, but it's more about the experience of the day.
Oh, definitely. I used to be really scared of drawing people moving around in day-to-day life, but now it's like one of my favourite things to do. And I think it's that sense of urgency you get, which is very far from my usual painting style. But like you say, it is all about the experience, because I mean, some of the sketches I look at where we've been out together, and it just takes me right back there. Especially that one where, do you remember it rained on my sketchbook?
Yeah.
And I was using water-soluble ink, and all the ink was sort of going everywhere. And it turned out to be a really quirky sketch that I really enjoy looking at now. But it's not just the fact I like the sketch, but I know I can feel where I was. I know what the weather was like. I just I can go right back there. Whereas if you took a photograph, it doesn't have the same effect, does it, when you take a photograph?
Yeah, totally. I mean, I remember so much more about our days because of the sketches we did there. And I could have almost just come back as well and throw my sketchbook in the bin. It wouldn't have mattered because I'd sort of already experienced them and done them. And they weren't anything I was ever going to hang on my wall, but it was it was part of that day, wasn't it?
Yeah, I prefer looking at sketchbooks than I do photographs for that reason.
Yeah.
You know. Anyway, so get out there, basically, is what we're saying. Oh, once the pandemic's over.
Don't get out there. Don't get out there. It's against the rules.
But we want to read out now the answers to our previous question, which is, or rather which was, what is your favourite art book and why? So, Tara, what have you got there?
I've got Sylvia Sketches, and she says, there are a lot of food ones, but Drawing on the Right Side of the Brain by Betty Edwards is by far the most effective in teaching you how to draw, if you ask me.
Did you say there are a lot of food ones?
Yeah.
I think she means there are a lot of good ones.
No, you could be right. Do you know what? I read it. When I read it on Instagram, I thought she meant as in, creative food ones. But no. Because we did say art books, didn't we?
Because food. Typo. I think that was a typo.
Yeah, sorry. There are a lot of good ones. I really thought it was like fancy recipes that, were quite artistic.
Yeah, no. That screamed out to me.
Okay.
I've got Michael Beckett, and he also says Betty Edwards, Drawing on the Right Side of the Brain, was the book that convinced him that he could learn to draw. And actually, I've got that book, and it was really good.
I've got it too.
I agree. Yeah.
I had to get it just to see what all the fuss was about. I think that was one of your picks, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, in last time's podcast. Yeah. So go check that out because it's all about our favourite books. Anyway, I've got Crespo Arts, and they say Supply and Demand, The Art of Shepherd Fairy.
I've never heard of that one.
Me neither.
No. Cavill Mary 24. I hope that's how you pronounce it. It's obviously an Instagram name. Pen and Ink Drawings by Alfonso Dunn. And he has a great YouTube channel where he teaches in a really great way.
I've got Mommy Quits, and she says Making Comics by Linda Barry, which was one of our choices as well. The exercises are so bananas yet freeing that you can't help but let go. Forget you're an adult and for a minute cackle wildly the entire time you're doing them. Exactly what I think. It is one of those completely bonkers books.
Yeah, it's definitely an eyebrow raiser, isn't it, when you look inside? I've got Margaret Gray. She says, my favourite book is whatever book I currently have on my shelf. I can relate to that, actually. I'm getting very curious about lino cut printing, and so I am researching. Recently, I started getting library books on my tablet, and it's great. There is a big selection, and I never get overdue books. I have Block Print by Andrea Lauren and Printmaking by Christine Medley waiting to be read. I tried lino, etching, silkscreen and monoprints when I was in at school, and I enjoyed lino the most, but I never spent enough time on it to get good.
Now that's good because someone on Instagram was asking, she said she really wanted to know about some good liner prints. So I hope she's listening because some liner print books. So I hope she's listening.
I saw that comment, yeah.
Okay, I've got Leah Grace artwork, and she says Art and Fear by David Bayes and Ted Orland. I recently bought a copy and it's extremely good. It helps you to get comfortable with the vulnerability of making art and helps you get past your perfectionism.
And I've got Christina McWilliams, Zen Seeing, Zen Drawing. It's a nice book. It emphasises that whatever you decide to draw is made beautiful and important simply by the act of you taking the time to consider whatever it is, even if it's just a dandelion or a dried up leaf.
That's an interesting one. Now, I read this and I thought, Sandra's written this to make me laugh, right? And it says, so we have a new question, which is not one that I wrote. Aside from cooking, what is the most creative thing you've ever done or seen done with a vegetable?
There's so so many good answers for this.
Well, you've got to check out, there's a woman on Instagram called Katie Bob's Your Auntie. And she does fantastic, they're not rude, fantastic things with vegetables, where people send her weird pictures of weird veg and then she draws on top of them.
Oh,
very clever.
Well, on holiday, I remember going on holiday once and they did a big banquet meal because we were away over Christmas, and they had created the most incredible display of vegetables and fruit which they'd carved into like a coral reef.
Oh, wow.
It was just incredible. I've never seen anything like it. It was amazing. So that's why I'm asking. That's why I want to know, who else
You did write that to make me laugh, didn't you?
No, it's a perfectly serious question. I don't know what you're talking about.
Anyway, as always, you can tweet your answer. You want to say something else?
No, carry on.
Okay. As always, you can tweet your answers at Kick Creatives or let us know in the Facebook group, which you haven't joined already. I highly suggest you do. We'll also put the question up there and on the Facebook page and also on our Instagram page, which is Kick in the Creatives.
I hope that gave you the kick in the creatives you needed. Don't forget to pop over to our website at kickinthecreatives.com to find out how you can take part in some of our upcoming creative challenges. And of course, there you can also subscribe to the podcast so you never miss an episode. And if you're enjoying the podcast, we'd be so grateful if you would leave us a little review on whatever platform you listen to your podcasts on, or even just a 5-star rating if you don't have much time. It has to be 5.
It does. And don't forget to check out our YouTube channel where we've got some art tip videos and also some funny ones.
And if you enjoy what we do and you want to help us here at Kick in the Creatives and support what we do, you can now support us by buying us a coffee. And you can find the link to be able to do that on our website. So that's it for now, and we will see you again soon.
See you soon.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you so much for listening. We hope you enjoyed the episode, and if you did, perhaps you'd like to share it and leave a review for us on iTunes. Back soon. And the thing I love about Art Journal January is that we get into a peak. Oh, this is going tragically wrong, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm getting rather hot too.
Oh, God. Yeah, and I hope that gives you the... I hope that... this is going to be a nightmare to edit this one. Yeah, by the time I've edited out all of my coughs and
my crap.
Sniffs and...
Oh, God, I'm sorry about that. Do you want to do it again?
What, the whole episode?
Yeah.